I'm happy to be with
Well, we've been praying for over 2 years for Israel and the Jewish people since October 7th. So that's been the main focus of this international group. And we've had guests who talk about it from Israel or from the diaspora about the issues. And one of the big burdens or concerns has been repeatedly brought forth by us and by our guests is what's happening in the diaspora, not just on the streets and not just with governments and not just with media. Those are big things we focus on, but also a real burden and concern for the young people, for students, for Jewish students at campuses of colleges and university. I can't imagine what it would be like if I were a student and being harassed and constantly seeing this stuff and how you navigate your own self-esteem and not be drawn into an anti-Israel rhetoric, which some Jewish students have. And I understand that, I'm not going to, but it feels so bad about it. So what we do, Sophia, is we listen to a speaker for about 15, 20, and then we pray because we believe in prayer. And it's basically a Christian group. But if you feel like staying, you're welcome to stay. If you feel like dropping off, there's no pressure or anything. We just want to hear what's on your heart and what you're doing and what SSI, Students Supporting Israel, is doing on the campuses. So
you.
thank you, Sophie. And if
I,
anybody has questions, you can put them in the chat too. Thank you, Sophie.
yeah, absolutely. I'm really appreciative that you're all here, and I'm so thankful that there are people like you that are praying consistently for us. Um, as Mark said, my name is Sophia Witt. I'm the executive vice president of Students Supporting Israel. Um, my background, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Um, I was born and raised in Cleveland. I worked for Turning Point USA upon graduating from Kent State University. And I was their director of Israel for 3 years. And I actually was the only person to ever take Charlie to Israel. So many of you know Charlie, and I hope that you've all prayed for him as
Oh,
well.
yeah, we've been really supportive of his.
That's amazing. I'm so appreciative. And yeah, basically my upbringing, my mom is Christian, my dad is Jewish. I was raised both. And I really developed a love, as many of you have, for Israel when I was in college. And I did this through different voices of advocacy, and I really found my niche in Students Supporting Israel. And when I joined Students Supporting Israel, I was one of the earlier chapters that we had started. The founder of our organization, his name is Elon. He founded this as a student himself. So we like to say that we are found for students by students. And essentially, our operations revolve around advocacy for Israel and not in the falafel stand nature. We don't like to sit behind a table and, hand out treats and goodies and talk about just kumbaya things about Israel, because as we know, Israel is very nuanced and has a lot of controversy behind it. And so our job at Students Supporting Israel is to clarify this and to really make sure that we are the narrative on campus and that it's not pursued by what Mark mentioned earlier, the anti-Israel voices and the anti-Israel rhetoric. And we found that the Jewish students are more pro-Israel than not, and they are drowned out oftentimes by the anti-Israel Jews who use their Jewishness as a token for the anti-Israel movement. Um, and so SSI was founded, you know, on an equal playing field to the notorious Students for Justice in Palestine, which operates on about 250 campuses nationwide. And we are at about 150 campuses worldwide. We have several chapters in Canada. We have chapters in Argentina, Ireland, um, Poland. We're kind of all over the place, but primarily we're in the United States. If you were following us, you probably saw just last week we had a huge issue at a Canadian campus at Toronto Metropolitan University.
And I'm from Toronto, so I know.
Okay, so you know probably better than others. We had a soldiers tour that we always host called we used to call it the Triggered Tour. We've since changed the word triggered following the departure of Charlie to the Combat on Campus tour. And this tour is to just show the voices of IDF soldiers on college campuses, which students never get to hear. And the students who do hear, it's almost like preaching to the choir. And so we give the opportunity to actually hear personal stories from soldiers so that there's a humanistic tone to them, to the conversation. So it's not just IDF is bad, what you probably hear the IOF, the Israel Occupation Forces, that they like to deem us as. And we really like to humanize the Israeli soldiers that come to campuses and allow them to take questions from the audience and talk to the greater crowd. And several times, I would say more often than not, it goes well, but sometimes we have crazy pushback and kickback. And what we found at Toronto last week was that our soldiers and our Jewish students were violently protested and were physically assaulted. They broke through an independent store owner's door and broke through the glass, and the soldier went to get the person who did it. He was cut up pretty badly. There was a lot of aggression towards our students, and the police got involved. There are 6 arrests to date from that incident, but we are not stopping because there is pushback. That is precisely what they want us to do. They want to silence us. They want to silence all of you. Israel is, the first to be on the front lines, and we are next. And I like to say, had the soldiers not been there, the students would have been the ones cut up and hit and hurt. And it really is a moral fight. It's between good and evil. It's no longer about, Israel and land and whatever the media wants you to believe that it's about. They want you to believe that the war started on October 7th, that, Jews and Palestinians were living in peace prior to 1948, and this was just not the case. And it is our job as students supporting Israel to talk about these things, to talk about what happened on October 7th, to talk about the lives that were lost on October 7th, and to commemorate them, and to commemorate incidents that happened prior to this as well. We do a Holocaust remembrance book fair that we have on campuses worldwide, where we hand out free books about the Holocaust, because we see now that students don't even believe that the Holocaust happened. And these are shocking things. I mean, students today are too young to know 9/11. I mean, I was a child when 9/11 happened, and students today don't even know, who it was between. They don't even know who attacked us that day. And we have a commemoration for that as well. We have an entire program called Never Forget, where we talk about the alliance between the United States and Israel and why it's important to remember terrorism in the United States and how it is parallel to terrorism in Israel. And we draw these comparisons not as a way to water down what happened in the United States, but to really bring light to we are in this together. We also host a program called Breaking Bread, and this is my brainchild. This is what I'm particularly proud of. And it is a giant Shabbat dinner betwixt Jews and Christians where they come to the table and discuss topics that, a lot of times are taboo to speak about. And a lot of times what I've found is, um, you know, Christians are nervous to come into the spaces of Jews. They don't want to speak for Jews, and they don't want to come into a space like Hillel. They don't want to come into a space like Chabad because they feel like they're stepping on our toes in some way. And likewise, Jews don't want to come into a church and they don't want to discuss, you know, Israel because they feel like there's a disconnect there and somehow it's not Christian land too. And these are conversations that I think are so important because a lot of times we take for granted the alliance that Jews and Christians have, and we don't understand that we are equal in Zionism and in the pursuit of righteousness and the pursuit of Western civilization. And in this, Israel is the land of Christianity just as much as it's the land of Judaism. And these conversations we have at Ohio State, we had 300 Christians and Jews attend a event like this at a local restaurant, and the conversations that I heard were just remarkable. I mean, they were revolutionary and they were exactly what we need to continue the work that we do on campus. And, my student who hosted that now has a group of 150 Christians behind her in every event that she does. So our work is so important. It really showcases Israel from every angle and for anyone who wants to support it. And our mission, which I didn't even mention, is to be a clear and confident pro-Israel voice on college campuses and to support students in grassroots pro-Israel advocacy. And what that means to me is it doesn't matter if you are Christian or Jewish or Muslim or any denomination of religion. If you support Israel, this is our cause. And what draws us different from other organizations, I'm sure you've heard of several pro-Israel organizations, is that we are the officially recognized student group on campus. We are not an internship program. We're not a one program and call it a day type of thing. We are registered as a student group by the university standards on the campuses that we're on. Just as we are registered through our national organization, we make sure that students register credentials with a constitution, with a set of bylaws that defines what they are and what they believe in. And we make sure that students have status on campus so that they can host tables and they can host programs, because what we found today, and rightfully so, I mean, you've seen what happens on college campuses, it is a war zone. And so it's really important that students have a registered name so that they can actually host events and do board meetings and actually conduct as a local chapter would of any organization. And so that I think is a more defining definition of us and what we do and what we are and why we are different than other pro-Israel organizations. And there are several smaller scale pro-Israel groups on campuses. You might see like Owls for Israel. At Kent State, there was Flashes for Israel. And what separates us from these organizations is a lot of times they operate under Hillel, and they are specifically catered towards Jewish students. There is not room for anyone who is a Zionist to join. And so we've created a space on several campuses that allows for anyone who's a Zionist to join, anyone who believes in Israel's right to exist to join. And we're on an equal playing field to groups like Students for Justice in Palestine, like Jewish Voices for Peace, that have a very organized front. And so when you have a group like SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine. When you are a group like Owls for Israel at a local, school in Florida, you're going up against a huge organization that is funded through millions and millions of dollars that is backed by Qatar, by the way, and they can do anything and they could swallow a small chapter like Owls for Israel. But when you have a group like Students Supporting Israel and you have the backing and network of 150 other college campuses with, hundreds of students in each chapter, you really are on an equal playing field and you can counter narratives and you can also be the pursuit of the truth. And that is what we do. That is what's important to us is the pursuit of truth. And I could go on and on. I could tell you about hundreds of programs that we've put on, that we do put on. Um, but I would really encourage you to visit our website and also reach out to me. I'm the most accessible person in the entire world. I'm happy to give you my personal contact information and speak to you one-on-one. And if any of you are around the Cleveland area, I'm happy to go out for coffee sometime. But I am passionate about this, which is why, I started as an 18-year-old kid in this organization, and I am now 30 years old, still doing this, still committed to this, for a career. And I see so many students like I was, who I feel understand the depths of this and I'm sure you all also understand the depths of what we're up against and what needs to be done in order to make sure that Jews of the diaspora um, don't get swallowed by evil, by the enemy. And we live in a time where the right and the left have a lot of issues with Israel, um, which we've never seen before, by the way. It's becoming a huge, huge, scary issue for me, especially. Um, and certainly for all of you, there's a war on Judaism and there's a war on Christianity. And they want to separate all of us. They want to make sure that Jews and Christians don't come to the table together. And they want to take us out one by one. And our job is to stay stronger together. And that's why I think it's so important what you guys are doing, that you're consistently on here, that you have our backs and we have your backs, and that we really pursue this unity moving forward and to make sure that our voices don't go unrecognized or shut out. So I'm not going to take any more time to explain. Um, I'm happy to, I'll add my email and my phone number in the chat. Um, Please reach out to me. I know that a lot of people will probably tell you to reach out to them and they'll never answer you. I am not that person. I really do believe in this, and I love support from any angle. I love prayer from any angle. And I'm really thankful that you guys are praying for us and, praying for me and praying for our organization. That it really does mean so much to me. So, thank you. And
You,
I'm going to stay
Sophia.
on with you guys, but if you
That's
have any
great.
questions, please,
Yeah.
please feel free
Anybody
to
have a
share.
question? You can just unmute. We'll try to keep it short because we do want to pray for Sophia.